Last class, we introduced you to the basic concepts of the object-oriented programming. So what is exactly an object? We said anything we see around us is an object. And when I want to write a program for the object, we have discussed that the object consists of the data and the object consists of some kind of behavior things, like what you call the actions. So whenever I want to write the program for that object, that means, so as it is considered to be one entity, so I need to have some data should be there in that, and then I need to have some methods or some actions should be defined as a part of that particular object. So we were taking some examples like the objects like cat, dog, or something like that, or an object like student or employee, like that we are taking examples. Then we discuss what data can be there for the employee and what is the methods that will be placing it for the employee, that we have discussed it. Okay. So in addition to that, now let us talk about the same thing. We'll continue this, how we are going to define the classes. We said that you'll be defining a class first, you need to define, and from the class you need to define the objects has to be defined. So the objects are nothing but the instances of your class, that is the memory that you are going to allocate for the objects. Now when you talk about your programming part, so how you are going to define a class in your Java means, so when I want to define a class in my Java, then we are going to use class followed with the name of the class we are going to define. Then open the flower braces, then you are going to define the members of the class. So members of the class means what? It's nothing but the variables and methods which are there as a part of the class. It is called the members of the class, it is called now. Okay. How we are going to define it? So I'll be defining, when you talk about the variable declaration, so this is my variables. Okay, and this is the methods. So this is the method declaration, or what you call a function declaration. So how we are going to declare the variables and how we are going to declare the functions or the methods inside the class that you're going to define it. Okay, once the class has been defined, so how you are going to define the object from the class? So you're going to use class name, object name is equal to new class name, you're going to define it. So that's how you're going to define an object from the class, you're going to do it. Okay. So now, so as I told you that there's a new is a keyword that we are going to use it for allocating the memory for the object we are going to do it. So let the ID start for me, like, okay. Yeah. Now we'll talk about something what you call a naming conventions. Okay. We'll discuss what you call the naming convention. So what is this naming conventions for us in our Java? Naming conventions we are talking about. What do you mean by this naming conventions? Means how we are going to define the names. Okay, or what you call the identifier names. How you are going to talk about the identifiers. You have the identifier is there. Identifier is nothing but the user defined name. The name that you are going to define is what you call an identifier. Whenever we are going to define the identifier, that is when you are giving a name. Example, let us say I'm giving a name for a class. I'm giving a name for a class. I'll follow certain rules. I'm defining a name for a variable. You understand? So I'm going to define the name for a variable. I'll follow certain rules for that. Okay, some convention. I'm not sorry, it's not rule, it is a convention I'm going to follow. I'm going to define a name for a method. I'll follow certain rules for that. Okay. Sorry, not the rules, some convention I'm going to follow it. So what is the convention that we follow? So generally, when you're going to define a class name, we say that the class name starts with capital letter. So we say the class name starts with a capital letter. Okay, let us say that you are defining a variable you are going to define, or you are defining a sorry, you are defining a method, right? So what we do is for the variable or for the method, we say that it starts with small letter. Okay, so that's a convention you are going to follow it. Now let us say that if a variable, if let it be it's a class name or a method name. Okay, maybe it's a class name, method name, variable, whatever it is. Okay, whatever I'm going to define it. If it contains, okay, if it consists or if it contains more than one word, if it contains more than one word, then what we are going to do it. So every next word, okay, is okay. Every next word begins with caps. Every next word begins with cap for us. What is that we are talking about? Example. Let us say now, I'm going to have a class name. Okay, so how I'm going to define the class? For example, let us say there is a class name called data input stream. So I'll use, as we said, the class name will start with a capital letter, data input stream. This is my class name. So it consists of 3 words for me. So data D is a capital letter, input I is a capital letter, stream S is a capital letter. I'm taking it. So data input stream. Or let us say I'm having a class called scanner class is there. So I'm writing S is a capital letter, starting letter will be capital letter. I'm having a class called string is there. So S is a capital letter for me. Or let us say that I'm having a class called system. So S I'm giving it as a capital letter. Okay, if it consists more than one word, if it contains more than one word, if it is having, then I'll be writing what the next letter of every word will be capital letter. The rest all I'll be writing in small letters. I'm writing it. Okay, so or let us say that you're going to have a variable, you're going to have it. Okay, or you're defining the method. We said it starts with a small letter. For example, let us say that I'm having a method called get. So I'll write it as small g, I'll be writing. Okay, let us say that the method name is get data. I'll write it as get data, D capital letter, I'll be writing it, sorry. I'll be writing the D capital letter, get data. Okay, it's a variable. Let us say it's employee ID, it's a variable you're declaring it. So then what I do is I'll just say employee ID, I capital letter, I'll be putting it, variable name. Understood? Or let us say there is some method is there called get text. Okay, right? I'll write it as get text like this. So whenever there is a method is there, so first letter will be small letter, the next word will be capital letter form. So this is the naming convention that we are going to follow it in our Java. So this naming convention is followed by Java as well as we also will be following it. So when we are writing our programs, we'll also follow the same naming conventions. We'll be following it in our programs also. Now, why it is? Because everybody is following the same convention. Whenever somebody looks into your code, they'll easily understand, okay, this is a method name or this is a variable name, this is a class name, they'll understand it very easily. It's easy to understand your code. So everybody follows the same convention and you are also going to follow the same conventions for us. Okay, so that's why generally what will happen is whenever you're going to define the classes, okay, let me go to my code. So generally that is what we did is the class name we are defining what you call read marks. Okay, so in this one what we did, so R we started with the capital letter and then M we are starting with a capital letter like that. Okay, so R something, let us say that you are going to define a class called first you are defined. So what we did, so we have taken F as a capital letter and then we are writing the rest of the things like that. Okay, understood? So we'll start a new project. We'll start file menu, new. So we'll start the new Java project. We'll start. Okay, when I'm starting my project, make sure that you're not going to create any modules, right? Okay, so I'll give the project name. So what is the name of the project I want to give here? So we'll say it's the name of the employee. Okay, so I'm going to class name, I'm sorry. I'm giving the project name as employees. Okay, or let us say, so I want to give the name of my project. Okay, let us say it's some bank related one. So then I'll say Axis Bank. I'm giving a project name. So your project name, what is the project name that you can specify? Then you'll be selecting what is the execution environment that you want to have it, what you call the GRE you want to have. You want to have the version 1.8 you want to have or some other version. What is the version that you want to work with? Select the version and then you see that. So there is something, an option what you call create separate folders for the source and the source and the, what is that one more? Source and class name, right? Is it visible? It's very small. See, there is an option here, create separate folders for source and class. So that means what? So your Eclipse will be putting your .java files in a separate folder, .class files will be there in a separate folder. Two different folders it will be creating and it will be placing your files. But whereas when you're working with the Notepad, so what we did, we compiled everything. So all your class files and .java files both were there in the same folder. But here in Eclipse, what it is going to do, it is going to organize them, or they're going to place them into two different folders. It is going to put it. Okay. So because we are selecting the option there, right? Like that. Okay. So here I'm not interested in creating a model. So I'm not selecting this option there. Just answer finish. So this is my, so this is my source there. Okay. Let me not use this. I'll just close all this. Okay. In this source, I want to create a new file. I want to create new Java class. I want to create it. So then, so you just go to file menu, select new, and then you say class. I'm selecting a new class. Now, if you look in, so it will be now showing you that the folder is where you're going to place your folders. It's going to be placed in the folder what you call SRC folder. Okay. So then, so package name it is giving, it is default. It's, remember when you talk about your packages here in Eclipse, it says that it's not advised to use the default packages. You create your own package name, it gives you. We'll discuss what is that package, how to create it and all. We'll discuss that little later. We'll talk about. Right now, I'm not going to create it. I'm just leaving the default package. That means I'm not giving any package name. I'm not giving it. When you give a package name, what happens is it creates a folder for that one also. It creates a folder with the package name and it will be placing all your source files into that folder only. It is going to create. Let's not worry about right now. So I'm going to give the class name. I'm going to give it. Now, remember when you are going to give the class name, we said we'll follow some conventions, will be following it. That's what we said, right? Okay. So let us say that you want to create a class called student class. So I'm just giving student. I'm giving student. I'm typing it. Now you see, one message it is going to give me was the default package is discouraged. One is thing. Okay, and one more is I given a class name as small s. I don't want to give the class name as small letter, but I want to give the class name as capital letter. I want to give it. So I'm using the capital S. I'm giving the student. Okay. So, okay, let's not worry about these modifiers and all. We didn't discuss anything about the modifiers. So we'll not talk about the modifier. By default, it will be creating a public class only. And then I want to have a main method should be there inside my class. So I'll click the main method. Okay. If you don't want the main method should be there, you can remove the main method. Okay. Fine. Then after that, so you click on this option, what you call finish there. So once you click on finish, you see that it's going to create the class for you. So the class is created for you. Okay. Now, let us go back to the syntax of the thing. Now we said what is the syntax for creating a class? We said what is the syntax for my class? The class syntax is class name, class name. So you are writing public or not, it is your wish. So right now we'll not talk about the public concept. Okay, then we'll have the variables. So what are the variables that you want to have it? And then what are the methods that you want to have it? So let us see how we are going to define it. Now let us say that I want to define a class called student class. I want to define it for storing the student information. So when you say that I want to store the student information, so what is the data that I want to have for my student? So what is the data that I want to have? So let us say for the student data, I want to have is ID, name, age, like this. So when you talk about this ID, name, age, okay, so you need to define what is the type of data it is. Okay, what it is data type. That means what values you're going to store into that. So when you say values means what you need to tell the data type there. So maybe you're going to store the numerical values or you're going to store the string values you're going to store. when you talk about the numerical values, maybe you're going to store the numbers with the decimal point or numbers without the decimal point you're going to store. You need to define that particular data type has to be defined there. So let's see. For example, I'm going to take the student ID. I want to have it. So I'll call it as SID. I will take a variable called SID, student ID. Okay, that is a variable they have taken. So marks, I want to have the variables. Okay, I'll just say M1, M2, M3 marks. I'm taking it. I want to have the name. So for name, I'll take the string, class I'll be taking, and then name I'm writing it. So when I'm going to define them, I'll follow the naming conventions. I'm going to follow them. Okay. So generally, when you're going to define the classes, okay, so whenever you're going to define the classes, we said first we'll have the variables will be there, and then you'll be having the methods will be defining it. So when you say methods, generally what we do is we define methods, what we call the getter method, okay, and setter method. So whenever in a class is there, so we are going to define the getter and setter methods are going to define inside the class. Okay. Inside the class, we'll have the setter and getter methods will be there inside the class. Okay. What is this set methods and what is this get methods for me? So generally, this get method, we are using it to read the data. Okay. To read or what you call. So let me use a better word, to get the data from the class. To get the data from the object. Okay. Right? To get the data from the object, I'll be using the get methods. Get, which method will be using it? I'll be using some method. So for example, we call it as xxxx. For example, let us say, so I want to read or I want to get the, what we are defined, ID we are defined. Okay, let us say that you are defining the name. Okay, I want to get the name. So the method we follow is what? Called get name, will be writing it. Okay, I'll be defining a name called get name. So get name is a name, it's a method name. I'm using it to get the data from a property called name. Okay, like that. Then we also use the set methods, will be using it. Then so set some variable, some property you are going to define, method, sorry. So this is to assign a value. Okay, or what you call to put a value. So whenever you want to put a value, okay, to a variable, you're going to use the set method, you're going to use it. Generally, when you talk about your set methods, the set method takes the data as the argument. When you talk about the get methods return the data for us. Okay, they return. What they're going to return, that depends upon. Okay, that depends upon what type of data that you're going to define for that particular property. Okay, so when you say the get methods, we are going to have the get methods, you're going to define it. So let us say that I want to, sorry, set method. Okay, 1 minute. Sorry for that. Now we want to define the set methods. Extremely sorry. Already we discussed about the get methods. The set methods I want to have it. So set methods, why we are going to use it? For assigning the data or to store the data to the properties. So whenever you want to store some data for the property, okay. So which property you want to store it? Now let us say that there is a property or what you call a field or attribute is there, called name is there. For the name attribute, I want to store the data. So then I'll be using set name, I'll be using it. You want to assign it to the marks, okay. Set marks will be writing, or you want to assign it to the M1. So set M1 will be writing it like that. So the property, the methods you'll be defining it as set followed with some name you're going to define it. So for example, now I'll be writing, okay, set name, I'll be writing it, and then I'll give some name as an argument for that. Okay. So generally remember these set methods, they don't return anything for us. Generally they'll be void methods for us. Void means they don't return anything for us. Okay, set methods will be void methods for us. Understand what I'm telling? Okay, so you understand what is this set method and get method is. Now as we told you that set methods and get methods are the type of methods which will help me to read or to get the data from the object. I'm going to use the get methods. To store the data to the object, I'm going to use the set methods I'm going to use it. Now, so either you want, you can just start typing it on your own, the get methods and set methods, you can type everything on your own. Or I don't want to type it, I want them to be generated automatically by my Eclipse, I want to generate. Then simply give a right click. Okay, use an option called right click. Then go to the source for me. So in the source, we have what you call set methods and get methods will be saying it. So you see now here, what you call the setter and the getter methods here. Understood? What I did, I gave, okay, I gave right click. Anywhere you can just give a right click. Then I'm having an option called source. So from the source, I'm going to have the generate setters and getters are there. Understood? I'm using the generate setters and getters are there. Now just click on that. So once you select that, now you see what are the variables that you are defined. Okay, what are the fields that you are defined? All the fields will be shown by your Eclipse for you. So we have defined M1, M2, M3 field we have defined. We have defined name, student ID I have defined. So all these have been defined there. So you can see all that. So I'll just generate for only one method, I mean one property I'll select, okay, or one field I'll select. So for example, name alone I'm selecting it. Okay, then so just come down. So there is an option called generate. Just I'm clicking on the generate method there. Now you see the get name, set name. Two methods have been defined for you. Automatically they've been defined. They are called the setter and the getter methods. So generally, whenever the fields are there or the attributes are there, okay, or the data is there in my class, okay, when I want to assign the data for the attributes or for the fields, we use set methods will be using it. Whenever I want to get the data from the object, okay, then we use the get methods. So those methods are called the getter and setter methods. They are called. They are all called the setter and getter methods. Understood? Any questions there? What is a setter method and what is a getter method? Okay. Now, yes, they'll be inside the class one. The setter and getter methods must be there inside your class. Okay. This is the convention that we follow. So any application that you look in or any, whenever you talk about your Java, so anywhere that you're going to have it, there will be there setter methods, getter methods will be there for us in our Java. Everywhere it will be there. So Java conventions are followed as it is, and you also follow the same thing. So that everybody, anybody is going to look into your code, they can easily understand what it is. Okay. Understood? See, if you say that is it necessary for me to define all those things? No, it's not necessary. Okay, you can have your own things can be done. See, when you are doing on your own means what? You are not concerned with others. No, you will be working in a team. So your team members also should understand what it is you are doing it. So for that purpose, it's always better to define, follow the conventions. Okay. See, if I'm alone, for example, I'm wearing a dress. So what dress you are wearing, nobody cares. Do anybody cares for you what the dress you are wearing? For example, let us say that you are going to wear a jeans. Nobody will ask you why you are wearing a jeans. Okay, you are wearing a shirt. Nobody will ask you. But when you are there in a team, you have to have what? You have to have the responsibility should be there. Okay, right? So you have to have the responsibility. What my team also should understand my code. Okay, it is not me alone working on my project. It's my team who's working on the project. So my team also should understand what we are following. If everybody is following the same convention, then it understands that what? Okay, so everybody is following the same thing there. If you are not following the conventions and you are doing it on your own, when the other people, when they look in, they have very difficult, they feel it's very difficult to understand what you have written. Okay, understood? So that's why we have to follow the conventions has to be followed. Okay. Yeah. Okay, fine. Now, so this is the set methods and get methods I have defined. Okay, either you define it or you let your Eclipse do it. Anyway, that both are same for us. That doesn't make a much of a difference, will not be there for us. Okay. Now, so this is my main method is going to be there. Now I want to create the object from my class. So we said what the syntax that we'll be following it for creating the object from the class. What is that syntax that we follow with for the creating of the object? So when you want to create an object from the class, the syntax is like this: class name, some object name is equal to new class name. You're going to write it. So how it is, for example, now where I'm creating my object, I'm creating my object in my main method. Remember, I'm creating the object in my main method. So what is the name of the class we gave? So we gave the class name as student. Okay. So now I'm writing my student class name, object, some object name, S1 I'm giving is equal to new student. I'm writing it. Sorry. So it should be capital S. Okay, new student I'm writing. Right? You are creating the object. Now once the object is created, now I want to store the data for my object. I want to store the data for the object. So I'm using only name I'm talking about. We'll talk about the ID and everything little later we'll talk about. So I want to assign the name for it. Then the S1 object dot, what is the name of that particular method that you're going to use? I want to use a method called set name is my method. So for this, I want to give some name. Okay, let us say I'm giving a name called John. I'm assigning the name called John for it. Then I want to get the name. So then what I'm doing, I'm using sysout I'm calling. Then name, I want to print the name of the object. Okay, so name of the student I want to print. So how do I get that? Dot get name. So we said two things will be there. One is called the set properties and other one is get methods and set methods are there. Set methods will assign the data. Get methods will get the data from the class. So I want to get the name what I have assigned. To get that one, I'm going to call the method called get name method. I'm calling it. Okay. Right. So just run my application now. I'll just click on my play button. So now you see that it's going to print me the name of the student as John there. You got it? Okay then. Now we are talking about how the objects are going to be assigned, the data you're going to assign for the objects and all that. Now here, the first step what I'm doing is I'm assigning the data, and second step I'm retrieving the data or I'm getting the data from it. Now comes a question, is it necessary for me to assign the data and then get it? Remember, we did for the variables. Normally we have some variable, X variable is there. We are not assigning the data for it and we are trying to print it. It gives me the error in my Java. It says that the variable may not have been initialized. But whereas when you talk about the objects, when you're creating the objects, now let us say that you are not assigned any data for the objects. Okay, I'm not assigning any data for the object, but still I'm trying to print the value. So what happens is in Java, it is going to have a concept called the default values will be there. For example, let us say that here I'm assigning the data first and then I'm printing it. So it is going to give me the data what I have assigned. Now let us say I make this one as a remark statement. That means I'm making this as a non-executable statement. Okay, so then what will happen? You see in the output is going to give me what? Null value it is going to give me. So Java has a concept of what you call null values will be assigned for the objects. So in case of the objects, when you're creating the objects and you're not assigned the data for the properties or what you call the fields or the attributes which are there as a part of your class, then what will happen? It will have the default values will be there. For the integers, it will take the 0 values. Okay, for the Boolean values, it takes the false value will be there. And for the strings, it will take the null values, it will be taking it. Now, if you are not assigning any data to it, it will have the null values be there for the string variable. So that's why. So we need to assign the data. We need to put some data into that variable and then you have to do it. Now comes a question like, we are using the method there. Is it necessary to use a method and to assign the data for the variable? No, it is not necessary. It is not necessary, but it is the rule that you have to follow. It is a rule that you follow it. You allow the user to access the data using the methods, not by using the directive variables. Now comes the question, how can I use that one? We'll discuss this, but this is not the method. It's not the advised method. For example, the name is there here inside my class. Okay, so this name I want to assign the data. For assigning the data, what we did, we defined a method called set name method. We have defined it, and then we are using the to store the data. Now I don't want to do that one. So I have an alternate method also. What we can do, the object name dot property name, you can use it. Directly we can use a property called name property, you can use it, and you can assign the data for it. So for example, let us say that you want to assign the data name John there. Just put s1 dot name is equal to John. You can also write. Okay, so you can give the data. You can allow the data to be assigned to the name. So s1 dot name, you can just name is my property there or the field that you are defined there. And if I want to put the data into it directly, I can write that s1 dot name is equal to John. I can write. Understood? I can write simply s1 dot John name is equal to John. I can write there. But this method is not advised. Why this method is not advised? We'll discuss now. For example, let us say that you are having a pen is there with you. So you are somebody is asking you a pen. So you give the pen. So do you have a control on the pen? What the user will be doing it? Now, how long he has to use it? Do you have any control on it? How much you should write? Okay. So there is no control on the usage part. So somebody is asking my pen. I'm just giving my pen. That's it. But I cannot have a control on that particular pen. What he's doing with the pen. Understand what I'm telling? We'll take one better example. We'll take. Now let us say there is a marks are there in my class. In my class, marks are there. I want to give the marks. I want to assign the marks for the student. So is there any rules are there that marks should be only like this, like this, like this? No rules. No rules are there for marks. Nothing. You can put any marks, whatever you want it. No. Okay. For example, let us talk about 10th class student. We'll talk about. So class 10, the student is from the class 10 now. So we have some rules are there. So what are the rules? Marks cannot be greater than 100, right? Can it be greater than 100? Okay. Can the marks be less than 0? There is a rule for the marks, right? So what is the rule? Marks cannot be less than 0 or marks cannot be greater than 100 for me. So if I'm giving marks above 100, what does it mean? There is a mistake you are doing it. You are doing a mistake. I'm trying to put the marks minus 100. I'm putting it. That means what? You are doing some mistake. Now, if I ask you to fill up the marks now, okay. If I'm asking you to assign the marks using the variable m1. Now there we have defined a variable called m1 for storing the marks. What I can do, I can put a value, whatever the value I want. I can give a value minus 100. I can write. I can assign there. I can put the data there minus 100. Okay. And that's what I'm doing. I'm doing some mistake. I'm doing it. I'm assigning the data for it. It works for me. But you need to, how do you verify that the data is given data is correct or not? Here I cannot do anything. So again, I have to have some other methodology has to be there, some other checking you have to do it again, then you have to do it. If you forget to call that one, the checking, if you're not doing it, then what happen? The whole marks will go into, the whole thing will go into problem for me. No, I don't want to do that one. So I want to have a control. For example, you're flying a kite, you're flying it. So how do you control your flight? Okay, we'll talk about the kite, or better we'll talk about kite. So let us say that you're flying a kite. So I want to control the kite now. Then, do you have the control with you or no? I have the control. Thread is going to be there with me. Then I'll use my thread to control it. So if the thread is not there with me, what will happen? The kite can flow wherever it wants it. Okay. So I want to control that one. So when I want to control that, the control should lie with me, not with the kite. Okay. So what we do is we use the methods now. So what is that method now? So for M1, M2, M3 also, I want to have the methods. So either you can have the method names like as you wish, like M1, M2, M3 is there. Get M1, get M2, get M3, you can have it. Or if you feel that M1, M2, M3, I'm not able to understand what is this M1, M2, M3, I understand better by using a names like what you call English, Telugu, something like subject names, it will be better for me. You can define the method name with the same name, whatever you want to have it. So internally, I'm using what M1, M2, M3, I'm using it. No, I want to use some other name, I want to use it. You can use some other name for it as a method. So for example, what I'm doing, I'm going to define a method called public void set English. Okay. I'll define the name called set English. Okay. It is integer. I'll take the variable called ENG. I'm taking it. Or let us say that you write only M1 or no issues there. Okay. Now I want to use this set method. No, sorry. So this is a set method, right? Set method is what? It is used for assigning the data. So I'll write now here this dot m1 is equal to m1. I'm writing. I want to get the marks now. English marks I want to get. So okay, public. So it's in a value. It's going to return for me. Get English. So when how it's going to return me the this dot m1 I'm writing. Okay. Now comes the question is what is it necessary the method name should be same as a property name? No, not necessarily. Understood. Internally you can use any variable, you can use it for storing the data. So the same name need not be the method name. You can change the method name also. There is no rule that the method name and the property name should the property name and the method name should match. There is no rule. You can have a different name also can be used. For example, for M1, I'm going to use the name as English. For M2, I'll use the name as Telugu. For M3, I'll use the name as English. Sorry, Hindi, something like that. Okay, you can have that. So that convention need not be followed. You can have the different. If you feel that user can understand, set English is a better word to better name to understand. Yes, you can use it. Set English. So internally for English, I'm using M1 marks. So that is left to you that how you are going to do. But generally we don't follow that method. Will not follow it. Always is better is what you use the same name. What you are going to define it for the property name. What the property name is the same. So for that, instead of defining the name called M1, you define the name as English only. See, everybody can understand M1. Instead of saying M1 is mapped to English, you say English only. English is mapped to English only. So need not to worry about M1 is to English or M2 is English or M3 is English. What it is, I need not to worry about. So instead of writing M1, M2, M3, you can write the names directly as English only. You can write it. Okay, understood? Okay. So now here I'm using dot set English. Now comes the question now. I'm writing set English of -100 I'm writing. Now comes the question, is it can we verify what the data is given is proper or not? Yes, you can do it. So what I do is I'll in the set method, I'll check now. If M1 value that what you're giving me is less than 0 or my mark 1 is greater than 100. Okay, sorry. I'm not supposed to use the word or, I'm supposed to use the pipe symbol, I'm supposed to use it. I'm checking in condition. Is it less than 0 or is it greater than 100? Or the other way you can write any condition that you will write it. Okay. So for other, I want to write the condition in other way. So that is if mark is greater than 0 or it is 0. Okay. It should be and for me and my mark 1 should be less than or equal to 100. Now, is it in this range for me? Is it in the range of 0 and 100 for me? Yes, it is. Then you assign the mark. Otherwise, so you are not following the rule there. What is my rule? Mark should be between 0 and 100. I'm checking that rule. If that rule is satisfied, I'm assigning the marks. Otherwise, I don't want to assign the marks. Okay. I'll just say this dot marks. Okay, you're doing some mistake for me. So I'm writing it as this dot marks is equal to M1 is equal to 0. I'm writing. See, I'm avoiding the when you're going to put the data itself, I'm checking now is what is it you are doing there. I'm just trying to avoid the invalid data and I'm putting it as 0 there. Okay. And if you want to give a message, you can also give a message to the user what. So you're trying to assign the invalid marks like that. Okay. Understood. So here we can avoid one step of testing step can be avoided. So I'm giving minus marks. I'm giving it. Now I need to check. Is it going to take the minus marks or not? I need to do it. That checking I need to do it. That checking I'm writing here itself. I'm giving. If the user is giving the minus marks, it tells me the message. So this is a minus mark. Okay. Negative marking is not allowed. I'll just give a message. Okay. All right. Negative marks not allowed. Okay. Or you just simply give the message invalid marks. Okay. I'm writing the code. Understood. I'm just using the formatting option. Right click. My source, I'm using it. Then I'm using my format. Okay. The formatting is going to do it. Understood. So when I'm having the methods, I can have a control can be there on my data. What data has been assigned. So is it the data is proper or not? I can do the checking can be done there, right? Like that. Okay. You want got this? Okay. Any questions? Any questions here? Now let us see. So I'm giving the marks as minus there. So you'll see that marks are invalid, it gives me. So if I'm trying to assign, I'm calling the set marks method here. So I'm giving set marks, set English of -100. If I give, it gives me invalid marks. Okay. So if I'm giving the marks as 100, if I'm giving it, and then when I execute, it doesn't give me anything. Okay, it's storing the data. So you can print the data there. So by using the, so get English, you can give the mark. If you call the method get English, it prints me the data over there. Understood? This is how generally you would be defining the classes, and from the class you are going to define the object. So here I have defined only one object I have defined called S1. Now here, how many objects I can define it? N number of objects can be defined from the class. You want 100 objects, S1, S2, S3, 100, you can define it. But we have already discussed something, it's a better method of doing things. What is that better method? We talked about the marks there, example marks. So you want to define the marks for 6 subjects you want to define. Instead of putting M1, M2, M3, M4, M6, we said go for the arrays. So like that, you want to have 100 objects you want to create it. Instead of writing S1, S2, 100, you can write S of 100. The object can also be, you can also create the array of objects also can be created. Understood? The same thing, I don't want to use now the marks as M1, M2, M3. I don't want to have it. I want to have the arrays. I want to have it. You can follow the arrays also. You can use it, right? It depends upon our requirement. What you want to do it. Everything you can do it on our one. Any questions here? So how we are writing it? How the class is defined? How the variables are declared inside the class? How the methods we are going to declare inside the class? Any questions over here? So online, you have any questions? How to define the set methods and get methods? One method is what? The set methods and get methods, you can do it manually by own, right? Understand what I'm telling? The set methods, okay, set or get methods, we can define it manually, right? That means you can write your own code. You can type the code, okay, define, or what you call, you can type the code. You define, or what you call, you type the code. Understood? No, I don't want to type the code. What I want it to be automatically generated for me. So I want to have auto generation. Then right click in your Eclipse, okay, and select the source option. Select the source option. And from the source, you select the getter and setter methods. Okay, select the option, generate the setter and getter methods can be selected. And then from there, select the properties or select the fields. What are the fields for which you want the methods has to be generated? You select that, it automatically do it and it will give it 5. Okay, but generalized. Okay, let us say that you want to define a method called result is one method that you want to define. Okay, or you want to define a method called calculate, like that. You want to define some method, or you want to define a method called main method you want to define. So how we follow it? So let us see the syntax for the main. So what we are doing it for the main method. So you're writing like this for the main method, public static void main, and then open the parentheses. You're going to write the arguments there, close the parentheses, flower braces, then you're going to write the code. Okay. So what is the syntax that we follow for the methods? So that is, first you'll have the return value, then name of a method, then open the parentheses, then you're going to write the parameters or what you call the arguments, okay, which is optional for us. Then open the flower braces, then you're going to write the code, you're going to write it. Similarly, I want to have the get method I want to define. So in the get method, what we'll write, first return type, for example, I've taken get name, I've taken. So I'll be writing string Then it's a get name, open the parenthesis, close the parenthesis. It's a function is not going to take any arguments, so I'm not giving anything. Open the flower braces. Then inside this, the method returns me the value. So I'll just say return name, I'm writing it. Then close the flower brace. Okay, set method. So how I'm going to define my set method? It's a name of a method. So method is not going to return anything. Generally set methods will not return anything. So it's a void. Then name of the method is set name. It takes some data as an argument for me. What data it is going to take, you're going to define the arguments. Then open the code. Then you're going to write this dot name is equal to name, you're going to write. Understood how we are going to do it for the methods? Maybe set method, get method, main method, any method that you have. Okay, let us look into the main part. So my main is there. So how I'm going to define my main method? First, return type. It is not going to return anything. So I'll write void. Name of my method is main. What is the argument it takes? It takes a string args it takes. Okay, then flower braces, then you write the code there. For the main method, we are adding some extra things we are going to add. Public static, you are going to add it. Then for a normal get method and set method, what you did, we added public, we are adding it. Able to understand? So here I am writing the public there. So for set method also, we define public. Okay. For main method, we are adding something extra for it. It is public static we have added. Clear? You understood how I'm going to define the methods? So whenever I'm defining the method, the first thing is what you need to follow the return, what it is going to return. Then what's the name of a method? Then what parameters it is going to take, or what arguments it is going to take, that you need to define it. Then after that, you open the flower braces and then you're going to write the code part. Understand? For example, let us say I'm having my get method is there. How I'm going to define my get method? So what it is going to return? It is going to return the string value it is going to return. So what it is going to mean, what is the name of my method? Get name. So I'm following the convention there. G is a small letter, capital N, I'm going to use it. Second word it is. Okay, get name. Okay, like that. I'm writing the set name. So, but remember the set name, get name and all, we are writing them as public methods, we are writing it. So why we are writing public, we'll discuss in the next class, we'll talk about. Okay, the access specifiers, we call them as access specifiers, access modifiers. So many things are there, we'll discuss about that. Okay. Yeah. So any questions here? Okay. We gave it as, sorry, it is spelling mistake. Yeah. Right. It's a string there. It is not a string. Fine. Okay then. Any other questions? Now you understood? Okay, that's how you're going to define the methods and all that. Okay, done. So we'll see one example. So we'll see one assignment now. Okay, so I want to define, same, I'll take this student class. I want to define, okay, a class called student. I want to define a class called student. So why I'm going to use this class called student? This class called student, I'm using it to store the student information. What is the student information that I want to store? I want to store the roll number. Okay, I want to have the name of the student, and I want to have the marks in 3 subjects. I want to have it. Okay, I want to have the marks in 3 subjects. Now these are the variables that I want to have inside my class. Okay, then what else I want? Generally, whenever you're going to define the classes, in the class, we'll have some methods will be there. We'll have some methods will be there inside my class. What methods you will be defining? 2 methods are going to be common for me. What are the 2 methods are common? Getter and setter methods. So what are the getter and setter methods? Getter and setter methods are the methods which will be So getter methods to get the data of the object. Set methods are the one which will help me to store the data to the objects or assign the data to the objects. That is common for every object. That is must for us. Then what are the different methods you want to have it now? Now I want to have a method called result. Okay, I want to have a method called result. So what is this method result will do for me? This calculates. Okay, this one calculates and prints the result of the student. So what do you mean by result of the student? Like for example, I want to print pass or fail. Okay. In addition to printing pass or fail, I want it also to print what? The total marks and average marks. Got it? I want it should print me total marks. So in addition to total and average, it should also print me the pass or fail. Then it should also calculate total, average, okay, and total average also it should print for me along with the pass or fail. So how to calculate the pass or fail? Simple result to take it. If the marks dot average is greater than 35, it is pass, else you need to print it as fail. You got it what I said? You write, no problem. Then we'll discuss. One by one we'll discuss. So which method you want to write it? So we have discussed so many methods we have discussed for calculation of the results. You can follow simple result you want to follow, average you can use it, or you want to check every subject you want to check every subject and print. Understood? See, I'm not telling you how to do it now. I just given you one simple example I given. Already we have taken the examples. Let us see how you do it on your own. Okay. So try to solve the solution and try to get the solution for this one and try to submit it before the next class so that you people also can understand, okay, how I'm able to do it or not, also you'll also able to understand them. Understood? Any questions here? So this is the assignment what we are going to talk about today. So you need to define a class called student. So this is for storing the student information, that is what. So what is that information? That is what variables I want to have it. Okay. So what are the variables that I want to have it? So I want to have the variables like roll number, name, marks in 3 subjects I want to store. Then I need to have some methods. So every class will have 2 methods will be there for me. One is set method, get method. One more method also will be defining for the class that we'll discuss in the next class. We'll talk about. There is common method is also there. What you call toString will be there for me in my class. This toString method we'll discuss, but right now you don't worry about this toString. We are not talking about the toString method. Every class will have the getter method, setter methods will be there, and toString also will be there. Right now we'll not talk about the toString. The toString we'll talk about tomorrow. We'll talk about the next class. We'll talk about them. Now I want only this getter and the setter methods must be there for me. And in addition to this, I want to have one more method should be there called result method. Now let us say this result method will not return anything for me. It returns nothing. Okay, so remember my method will not return anything. Okay, so what it is going to do for me, it is going to calculate the result. It is going to calculate. First, it is going to calculate total average. It prints it, calculates and prints both. Okay, and it is also going to find out my result. So this I want you to do it, right? So try on your own, no issues. We'll discuss that. Okay. So we want to have one more assignment. We'll take. Nothing to worry. Try doing it. Okay. It's only your try will help you much better. Okay. So n number of examples from my side will not help you much better. So that you need to understand. Now I need to define a class. What is the name of the class? Number. Name of my class is number. Okay. I want to define a class called number. Now, what is the use of this class called number? This class will have some methods for me. It has some methods. This is having some methods. What are the methods that will be there? There is one method called big. which will take two numbers as my argument. Okay. And this method returns the biggest number. One more method I want to have, the opposite method. So one is big. Okay, I want to have one more method. So method 1 and method 2. Okay, let me use methods 1, right? I want to have one more method. I want to have it. What is the name of that method? It is, let us say it is small. You call biggest, or whatever you call it as. Now this returns me the smallest. Okay, two assignments I'm giving it. Assignment number 1 and assignment. Try it up. Okay, it's only your try will help you much better things. Understood? We know how to find out the biggest of two numbers. We have seen that if condition we can make it up. If A is greater than B, okay, then we'll write return A, else return B. So in small, the other condition. So if A is less than B, return A, else return B, like that. You'll be writing the conditions. So you need to understand how to write, try writing them. Okay, you have any difficulties in that, we'll discuss that. Okay, any questions? Yeah, so any questions now? What you people? So offline people will have an upper edge now. So they can write immediately, they can write and they can show, they can get the answers, what your difficulties are there. So, but the online people, they have to type it, they have to send it, they have to wait till I see the result and then respond to them. So you don't have that problem is not there for the people who are there inside the classroom. So they can write now, they can submit, they can see, they can get the verification, all that can be done here itself. So any more questions? Any other questions?